So, good day, sir. I am Jamel A. Ereher from BSC's 2A, and this is my project proposal for ITE6. So, the title of my project proposal is a second-hand clothing inventory system. So, to start with, let us have first the topics that I have acknowledged and to be discussed. First is the introduction or the project context. Second is the objectives. Third is the scope and limitation. Next is the technical background, and lastly, the design and methodology. So first, let's proceed to introduction. From the study of Fashion Revolution Philippines 2019 state that in the discourse of sustainability, buying second-hand clothing is touted as a solution to the excessive production and consumption in the fashion industry. Mass production and consumptions of fashion, which is currently the popular industry model, means that clothes are being bought and thrown away at a fast rate. This results in tons of textile waste every year. Turning to second-hand clothes is then generally regarded as the more sustainable option as it extends the lifespan of garments and keeps them from turning into textile waste. However, the impact of buying and selling second-hand clothing varies across the globe. For instance, second-hand clothing comprises 30% of total value of imports and over 50% in terms of volume, while the second-hand clothing trade here clearly has consumer benefits. It is said to play a significant role in the undermining of industrial textile garment production. Through this research, it aims to analyze the second-hand clothing and structure as well as its social, cultural, and institutional influence. The specific objective are to describe the consumer's market behavior, to analyze the behavior of the products and goods, and lastly, to measure the consumer surplus as well as the gains. While the scope and limitation of this study attempts to consider the Santa Margarita area only. It focuses primarily on Magsuhong and nearby barangays, regarded as ukay-ukay hotspots. So let's proceed to Chapter 2, the technical background. This chapter consists of discussion on the system tools, software requirements, and installation requirements used to develop the second-hand clothing inventory system. The researcher performed analysis, data gathering, constructions, and simulation of algorithm. Using the constructed algorithm, second-hand clothing inventory system was developed. Table 1. Software requirements of second-hand clothing inventory system. Software. Word processing software. Specification. Microsoft Word. Description. Is a graphical word processing program that user can type with it. It is made by the computer company Microsoft. This its purpose is to allow user to type and save documents. Similar to other word processors, it has helpful tools to make documents. Second is the database software, MySQL. The database is a structured collection of data. It may be anything from a simple shopping list to a picture gallery or a place to hold the vast amounts of information in a corporate network. Lastly, the programming language or the Visual Studio. It contains completion tools, compiers, and other features to facilitate the software development process. Table 2. Hardware requirements for second-hand clothing inventory system. The hardware are laptop and Wi-Fi. Table 2 presents all the hardware requirements needed to use and manage the gate pass system. The hardware requirements serve as the main development environment for the gate pass system wherein the testing of functionalities was carried out. Table 3. Human resources of the second-hand clothing inventory system. The human resources are programmer and the researcher. Table 3 shows the human resources involved in the development of the second-hand clothing inventory system. And designated tasks and responsibilities, only one person is assigned for the programmer and the researcher. So let's proceed to chapter 3, design and methodology. So as you can see, this study ends in the fourth week of May. So next, the context diagram. Defining the structural process of the system helps the researcher to know the involved entity during the transactions. It is important to have a structured representation of the system so that the developers will easily understand what will be the overall workflow of the system. Customer, inventory system, and the owner. Data flow diagram. From process model of the system, the data flow diagram was made to know the internal process on how the system would serve the user. The customer information, the admin, the transaction payment, and the sales information. Next is the entity relationship diagram. This process shows the database design of second-hand clothing inventory system. The 9 table contains the following: salesperson, customer, order, order line, product, product part, supplier part, and lastly the supplier. The functional decomposition. This process shows the functional decomposition diagram of second-hand clothing inventory system. The diagram shows the flow of the said inventory system that includes the following entities: the customer, which is customer's payment and customer receipt; admin, admin's reservation info; admin's records of the customer's input; and lastly the supplier that has the confirmation details.